Your secrets, if you really look at yourself, you would be speechless. What happened to being doctors and teachers? What happened to being your brother's keeper? Nowadays,
Yo,
kids
what's good, y'all? It's your boy, Mr.BandClap, and we in the building with another podcast, man. It's been a little minute. Back on my shit, man. Back in my element. I want to hit y'all with this, man. I'm here at my favorite restaurant, Jimmy Hula's. It's a very peaceful restaurant, very peaceful place to, chill and eat some good food and do my podcast. Today I'm going to be talking about the Orisha Oya and Obba Nani and the archetype of the bad chick and the wifey, and why both of these archetypes are needed for better and for worse. All right, y'all, so we got a lot to talk about. So let's get the show on the road. All right, y'all, so we back. Welcome to another BandClap TV podcast, man. Please excuse the background noise. I'm at Jimmy Hula's right now, which is one of my favorite restaurants. The atmosphere is real cool. Always got some nice reggae music playing in the background. And I'm currently outside in the patio area. So just a few announcements. First of all, shout out to the wonderful people at Rockin Crawfish. It's a real cool restaurant. I know the cook personally, Ty Cooks. You can follow him on Snapchat and Instagram. I'll put his information below. And he is one of the dopest cooks when it comes to seafood, wings, you name it. This dude is dope in the kitchen, man. And at night, on Friday and Saturday nights, it turns into a after-hour club spot, which yours truly will be DJing at on Friday and Saturday night. So I gotta promote myself in here too. So if y'all want to have some good food, some good seafood, hear some real dope music, reggae, soca, old school, reggaeton, a little hip hop and rap in there too, you know what I mean? Man, check us out, man. We're located on 5040 West Colonial if you live in the Orlando area. And the atmosphere is real dope, man. Y'all would love it, man. Y'all would have a good time. We got all the beers that you would think about. We got drinks, bar, food. It's real dope, man. Again, the address is 5040 West Colonial in Orlando, Florida. And all right, next thing, I am diligently looking for artists. I need singers as well, but I'm talking about like artists, like people who can draw, because I got some dope ideas for some Orishas shirts, but I need to link up with an artist who I can tell them what's in my head, and then they'll be able to put it on paper, or they'll be able to draw it out and get it digitized so I can make some shirts. So any artists or graphic designers who would want to help me out and isn't trying to break my pockets, I would definitely love to see some of your work and see can we come to a good bargain as far as price goes. And I'd love to work with some local artists, man. New music is definitely on the way. I've just been traveling and going a lot of places doing this stagehand work. As you can see on my Instagram and my Snapchat, I've been out of town for a lot of November. I was supposed to do this podcast during Scorpio season, during Oya's season, but I didn't get a chance to because I've been out of town and doing a lot of stuff, so that's why I'm a little late, but I'm still gonna get it popping, you know what I mean? So before I get into the main content that I want to talk about, I gotta address some things when it comes to spirituality versus religion. Because on this journey that I've been on, when it comes to me wearing my leggings and going out and meeting other people who's practicing a lot of these religions, when it comes to the Orishas and stuff like that, it makes me feel more and more glad that I didn't come through this in the religious standpoint. Because man, you think Christianity or Judeo-Christian religions and all of this is a process. God dang, like I run across these people who have been through the initiation process when it comes to dealing with the religious part of Santeria and all of that, and I've heard some very interesting stories. Like I ran into this brother the other day, and he was talking about how since he's in the process of being a Santero, which is kind of like a high priest when it comes to Santeria, he has to wear all white for the whole year. And I was like, wow. And then I talked to this other guy that I worked with when I was doing the EDC show in Orlando. And he was talking about how he was trying to get initiated, and he was sending this guy in Nigeria like hundreds and hundreds of dollars for different ceremonies and different offerings and things like that. And he was honestly feeling like that he was getting gypped, because religiously he was a part of this, I guess, hierarchy, but spiritually he felt like nothing really changed. And not only that, I've been seeing a lot of videos on YouTube as well of people who are inspired and aspiring to work with the Orishas and doing stuff like that. So they're looking for babalaos and santeros and priests and things like that to initiate them. Now, here's my stance on that, because for some people, the religious aspect is needed. So I'm not going to down the religious aspect of it. I'm not going to down the religion. I am going to down, however, the scammers out there and the people who prey on the weak and the unknowledgeable. So they're easily to scam people out of money, especially if it's like someone from Nigeria or Africa or something like that, and you're sending money or you're giving money to them so they can do some type of ritual for you or something, and you're constantly sending them more and more and more money, and the person has malintent. Now, I'm gonna down that all day, just like I down these high Joe dollar ass preachers who do the same thing in the Christian church, as far as taking the church's money for their own personal gain and not putting it into the church like what they claim that they're going to do. Now, one thing that I was always taught as a child is, even when it came to Christianity, to not get so wrapped up in the religion of Christianity, but to have your own personal relationship with the Most High. And that's something that really stuck with me, because me coming out of Christianity and hearing about this stuff is kind of the same process if you want to get the most out of it. Meaning, yeah, it's good to, on a knowledge side, get all of the information that you would need as far as that, but the best way, always the best way to learn about anything is to go within, meditate, and have your own personal relationship with the energy. And I would always stress that over just blindly going into a religion and just going through the traditions and practices, because you get more from the personal relationship than the religion, in my opinion. The religious aspect is just for you to be able to relate to other people, whereas the personal relationship is just what it is. It's a lot more personal. So as an example of what I'm trying to say is, let's just say that Prince is my uncle, and Prince, he is and was a very, very iconic person. I mean, he was a dope singer, he was a good instrumentalist, an all-around great performer. So some of Prince's greatest fans wanted to keep his legacy going, even through his death. So 10, 11, 12 years later, they make June 7th National Prince Day to commemorate the life and the legacy of Prince. Then a group of his most loyal fans got together and made a book about Prince, derived from information from various Hollywood sources, clips from different interviews that Prince may have did. And just to make the book a little juicy, they might sprinkle in a few rumors and controversial aesthetics. So for the average people who read that book, they're going to think that they know Prince, because that book is going to pretty much have everything in it that they've heard all through the years. But the difference is with me, since Prince was actually my uncle, I mean, not in real life, but for the sake of this example, not only do I truly know Prince because I was actually around the nigga, but I also know some things about Prince that the public eye wouldn't know, simply because since we're family, I'm able to see the real Prince away from the stage, away from the political correctness of the public eye. So with me seeing the book, I firsthand know that, yeah, that book is kind of like a appetizer as far as getting to know Prince, because I know that everything that there is to know about Prince isn't in that book. And there's also a couple lies in that book, because I know him personally, and I know that if he were to read this book, a lot of shit he wouldn't even agree with or even want put out there like that. So to keep his story alive, his true story alive, me, the rest of my cousins, and our kids, we pass down the true story of Prince, as well as his secrets and things like that, through word of mouth to our family. And since we're a part of that bloodline of Prince, it's easy for us to just go within, aka call me up, and get the truth. Now once I pass away and my kids pass away and many, many generations pass by, it's going to get to a point where that word of mouth story that originally came from me about the true story about Prince is going to get diluted, because with word of mouth, words start to change, meanings of words start to change, and everyone who hears the story, when they tell it to someone else, they're going to add their own little piece to it, and it just gets to the point where the true story is so diluted. But the beautiful thing is, again, since you're a part of that bloodline of Prince, you can always meditate to his symbol that he left on earth for us and spiritually contact him and get any information that you would need. So that's an equivalent of when it comes to religion versus spirituality. The religion is nothing but remnants and bits and pieces of the true spirituality system that it derived from, along with its customs and traditions, was created simply because the elders that knew the truth about the spiritual system knew that there was going to come a time where, as a people, we would forget the spiritual system because of us going into slavery and different groups coming in and conquering us and burning up our libraries and stealing our texts and scrolls and things like that. So the religion was created so that you can recondition your mind and your body to remember who you are and the energies that live inside of you. But in this day and time, the religion is so diluted to the point where instead of going that route, it's almost always going to be better to go within and meditate on the symbols that these religious figures or the gods and goddesses left for us to contact them. And that way you can go into the energy yourself and decipher your own depiction and your own perspective of it. Because as Black people and people of melanated descent especially, we have the key. We have the ancestral bloodline to connect with any god, goddess, spirit, anything. The mind is all and the universe is mental. So anything that you set your mind to, any deity that you would like to contact, any of that, we have the power to do so outside of religious means. So if anything, the religion should be more of a instruction manual almost, because I mean, you need to know what you're dealing with before you deal with it. So that's why I say religion isn't all bad, but nothing is gonna substitute you doing the work, meaning you going within yourself, you meditating and getting face to face with these deities and with these energies yourself, because at the end of the day, all of this stuff is inside of you. You just gotta go within and find it. So all right, y'all, so let's get into it. So my last podcast, I talked about Erzuli Fleda and Erzuli Danto and the archetype of the dark-skinned Black woman versus the light-skinned Black woman. And I figured that I was going to get a lot of mixed reviews on it, and I did. And the funny part about it is mostly the women gave me the hardest time with that. Some women, let me clarify, some women, because there was a few women that came to me and agreed with a lot of things that I said. Now, a lot of women, they got a little bit more carried away with the story that I gave and misconstrued it as an absolute. But I want to give the same disclaimer that I gave on my last video. When I put myself in the energy of these deities, it's almost like Vlad TV giving someone an interview or something like that. So when you go into the energy and talk about it, you may pick up some things differently than what I picked up, and vice versa. So nothing that I'm saying is absolute. It is just my observation and my opinion, my conjecture on how I felt, and bringing it down to a level that the average person could understand, because these deities are very, very complex beyond something that I could even try to fathom to put out there. But for the sake of me teaching and trying my best to relate to everybody, I have to bring it down to a very, very remedial almost type of level so that everyone could get it. So this one, I'm going to do it a little bit differently. With this one, I'm going to be a little bit more true to the mythology, as well as some things that I picked up about them. Because like I said before, these deities are nothing but archetype energies that still today are seen and experienced. So if you listen to my last podcast about Shango and his 3 wives, I talked about Obba Nani, Oya, and Oshun. So I'm not going to harp on the information that I talked about in that video. I just want to give a little information that I didn't talk about in that podcast, and I also want to draw for you all the parallel between Obba Nani, aka the wifey, and Oya, aka the bad chick, because the bad chick, aka Oya, always gets a bad rap when it comes to the woman that you should be with. But the one thing that guys don't like to talk about is when we go out looking for that ideal mate, or just like Shango, a lot of us look for Oyas first, because you know Oya is that bad chick. You know, going back to Oya's mythology, Oya, she brought physical beauty to the world. So on the outside, you could imagine how Oya looked. She was an extremely beautiful woman. She had amber eyes. I mean, Oya is one of those type of women to where just you looking at her long enough, she already got you under her spell. Because like Oshun, Oya preys on that primal instinct that all of us men have. And sometimes that primal instinct can get us in trouble. And that's where the storms come in, and that's where the crazy chick comes in. Because Oya is a very protective woman. So translating that into our world, again, she would be categorized as that ride or die chick. You know, Oya is one of those women to where her femininity is kind of like a promiscuous mixed with manipulative type of nature. Because like I said in the previous podcast, the way she talks is kind of like a serpent tongue almost, especially when she's trying to manipulate you into doing something, or she's trying to even warn you about something. But when it's time to get down and dirty, Oya is one of the only goddesses who isn't scared to quote unquote put in that work on the warrior tip. That's the reason why Oya ain't nothing to play with, because just like Urzuli Danzo, Oya got that mean streak, and when she get mad, you better head for the hills, because you see how hurricanes fuck shit up on Earth. Now imagine you having a woman that's an embodiment of a damn hurricane, and you get on her bad side. Yeah, we'll see how long you gonna survive with that on your hands. And in a way, that's all the things that you would have to deal with being with a so-called bad chick. Now, another thing about Oya is she is the goddess of the marketplace, meaning she about her business at the end of the day. And when it comes to her getting her money, Oya is one of the best people to have on your side when you're trying to make money, you're trying to do business, you're trying to make business decisions and make business deals. Translation, you can have bad chicks who are nurses, doctors, lawyers, teachers. I mean, look, I can respect a bad chick that's about hers, but don't let that negate you from the fact that these chicks are still crazy as cat shit. You just got some who just, in a professional setting, they know how to cut it on and cut it off. Now, the best way to describe the power of Oya is kind of like on one of those martial arts movies where you have the student that has a lot of potential. I mean, a lot of potential. I mean, they're kicking all the other students' asses using a mixture of stuff that the sensei taught as well as the unorthodox methods that they use on their own. But this person is very uncontrollable and unteachable. But if they learned some technique and they were able to hone those skills in a disciplined manner, they would probably be greater than the sensei. And that's where I tie in the wifey versus the bad chick, because trust me, since the bad chick has been through more experiences a lot of times than the wifey. If the bad chick didn't look at being submissive as a weakness for a man, with all the things that she knows, if she could leave that drama alone and leave that chaos alone, or keep it at a minimum, she would be a lot more of an asset to the man than the wifey archetype. But most bad chicks that you see, they have a uncontrollable nature. They don't know what true femininity really is. They don't really know what being submissive is. They look down on being submissive because they look at it as being a weakness. That's why you have a lot of these bad chicks with this, I'm an independent woman, I don't need no man to satisfy me, or I don't need a man to complete me, I can do that all by myself. That's why you got a lot of that going on. And I would chump some of that up to a lot of these women haven't really been taught properly about true femininity and its benefits. Then you have a slew of bad chicks who do know about it, and that's how they get different men, is because they can turn that feminine side on them to attract a certain type of man. And then once you be in a relationship with them for a while, you find out that that was only a facade and she's really crazy as cat shit. But the bad chick would always have a special place in our hearts, because we all know that the craziest chicks have the best boom boom. I mean, that is very understandable, knowing that she's had all these different experiences and she's had all this practice And another reason why the bad chick, aka Oya, is needed is because Oya is still the goddess of change. So usually when Oya comes around with a hurricane, it's something that you could have prevented. So in order for you to wake up and get your shit together the right way, she has to tear down what you already have that's unstable so you can rebuild again and have something steady this time. Now, translation, you come into a relationship as a beta male or a blue pill person and you end up looking up and getting with some bad chicks. Oh shit, you're gonna learn about female nature real quick, fuck around with the bad chicks. And you're gonna transform if you survive. You're definitely gonna transform. And if you're not affected too negatively from the experience, if you can take your experiences with the bad chicks, whether it was good or bad, and gain wisdom from it, then you'll emerge from that situation a transformed person, whether that's you being a red pill or going MGTOW or however that transformation is for you. Because at the end of the day, sometimes you have to be with a Oya so that you can appreciate Obba Nani when she comes through. Just like meaning sometimes you gotta go through a few things with these bad chicks who look physically pleasing for you to be able to appreciate a wifey. Now, speaking of wifey, now let's talk about Obba Nani a little bit more. Now, when Obba Nani came into the world, her whole essence pretty much represents the archetype of the wifey. I mean, she was one of the most elegant and most intriguing Orisha, and this was before Oshun even came into the picture. And aside from being a great teacher, a very powerful warrior, I mean, like I said in the last podcast, Obba Nani taught all of her brothers and sisters not only through education, but also how to properly fight in battle, as well as using magic. Now, the thing that was the most intriguing about Obba Nani is not only did she bring love and charity and things like that, culture, writing, navigation, one thing that made her beauty even more exotic than Oshun is that Obba Nani, she was one of those type of women who was extremely classy. I mean, the only way that I can really explain it is she has a stature about her that most dudes would already be intimidated by her because of her presence. But physically, if you would see Obba Nani, she would kind of be described as this woman who's extremely beautiful. She may have on like a dress or something that's hugging her curves, but she's not really showing any cleavage or she's, covered up. But I mean, you can just look at her and you can just tell that she got a nice body. She kind of has this mysticism about her to the point that with most guys, even though they may be reluctant to approach her, because she kind of holds this presence to where you really need to have all your shit together and you need to really be coming correct. But she kind of has this mysticism to where it's like, when you look at her, she's fully covered up. So it's kind of like a mystery. You're like, man, I wonder how she looks with all of that off. Or I just wonder how sex would be with her. Or I wonder how making love to her would feel like. Or, she's one of those type of women. And that is a perfect definition of what wifey would be like. Now, the thing about Obba Nani is, since she was so busy teaching and tending to the kingdom and cooking and, doing housewifely type things, Obba Nani, even though she was extremely beautiful and her body is just out of this world, she isn't really a party girl like that. You wouldn't see Obba Nani at any ceremonies or any parties or things like that unless it's something that had to do with the kingdom. So translation, you're not really gonna catch wifey at the club like that. I mean, if you're looking for a wifey at the club, you can tell off the bat which one is the wifey, because she would be that beautiful chick that's at the bar looking bored as fuck but she's extremely sexy and you're wondering why she's not out there dancing like everybody else. And if you got the balls to go up to her and talk to her, you're gonna find out that she's really a homebody and her friends had like a party or her friends had something and they pretty much had to drag her out of the house kicking and screaming for her to come out and quote unquote have some fun for a change, because she's so business oriented, which for most guys, especially young guys, that's looked at as boring. But most of these guys would rather have a bad chick that loves to go out to the club, and then they end up with all that drama because you're going out to the club with this bad chick who's dressed all scantily clad, and as soon as they walk into the club, no matter if you got your arm around her or not, you got all these thirsty ass niggas that's gonna try you and her. I mean, I've seen situations where a dude can be with a bad chick and guys will still walk up to the chick and slap her on the ass just to see if you man enough to do something about it. That's why when it came down to it, Ogun was a really good match for Oya, because Ogun is the man of steel, literally. And if you fucking with a bad chick, you better have you some steel on you. Yeah, my niggas know what that means when I say you gotta have some steel on you. Because you messing with these bad chicks, niggas will try you. And unless you know how to fight good, you better have you some good aim. So anything that's associated with drama or gossip, Obba Nani tries to stay far away from that. Not because she feels like that she's better than anybody else. Because remember, before the whole situation with Shango, Obba Nani and Oya were really close as sisters. Like, they was real close. But it just comes down to, I mean, with her busy schedule, she just don't have time for bullshit. I mean, it's just simply how it is. I mean, in Earth, if you want to meet an Obba Nani, you'll have a better chance catching her at a grocery store or like a coffee shop or something like that, or like a park. And she would be the type of woman to where you would have to approach her. And when you approach her, you got to come correct, because she don't play that disrespect. And with her energy, you wouldn't even want to come to her half-ass anyway. That's why, like I said, most guys are intimidated by Obba Nani's presence or by the Wifey's presence. So with that being said, you wouldn't see Wifey on social media like that. A lot of times, she wouldn't have a Facebook, she wouldn't have a Snapchat, and if she is on these social media sites, it's always posting something positive, something educational. She has a business, she's always posting about her business, you know, stuff like that. Or she has one, it might be a situation to where she hasn't been on that social media in like months or years. She just has one just because she wants to stay close to her family and friends or something. That's the type of woman that will be considered a wifey. Now, out of all of this stuff that I'm saying about Obba Nani, I bet some of y'all are like, dang, like, it's like the wifey is just all positive and the bad chick is just all negative. But no, that's not the case, because Obba Nani, like in my last podcast, she has some things too that can be detrimental to her if she lets these things run her. Because like I said, when it came to Shango, Oya knew that she couldn't face Obba Nani head on, just like the bad chick. She knows that if a dude has a very, very good wife, it is a extremely low possibility that he's gonna cheat, especially if it's a wifey like Obba Nani. I mean, she's like anything and everything that she would even ask for in a woman. So why the hell would you mess that up? I don't care how fat her ass is. So in order for Oya to penetrate that relationship, instead she played on Obba Nani's insecurities. That's why as a man, you gotta always keep a close eye on your wifey's friends. Because if you have a wifey and she's game goofy when it comes to the street shit, if she got some bad chicks who are her friends, there could be a strong possibility that she would be easily influenced by those bad chicks about you. So that's one thing that y'all really gotta watch out for. Now, back to the mythology. Obba Nani brought a lot of good things into the world, but those good things that she brought into the world quickly turned into regret, which can come off to that she was very naive and insecure in some areas. But to be completely honest with you, the number one thing that she was naive about is something on Earth that us humans have that's called duality. And duality pretty much means that when we're given something, we have a choice whether to do good with it or to do bad with it. And she was naive to the point where in her mind, she thought that the things that she brought to the earth was just so good and just so great that she couldn't fathom someone coming and doing something evil with it. So yes, she brought love, but the opposite of love is hate. So that came into the world too. She brought charity into the world, but she also brought pain and suffering into the world too. Because there's always gonna be a yin and a yang to everything. Nothing on this earth, whether it's a thought form or anything, is gonna be all good or all bad. There's always gonna be some good and there's always gonna be some bad. And that's the number one thing that Obba Nani was naive about. And with that, that ultimately brought trust issues too, which is the main reason why she ended up losing the greatest thing that happened to her, which was Shango, because she was naive, because she was listening to Oya, which was playing on her insecurities, which in turn made her have trust issues, which is the reason why she felt like that it was necessary to try to put some voodoo on Shango to keep him with her, when she just didn't realize that everything was already perfect. I mean, Shango cut off all of his women that he was messing with, and he was strictly for Obba Nani. Because I mean, when you got a wifey like Obba Nani, why do you need any other woman? So, in a nutshell, that's my synopsis when we're talking about the wifey versus the bad chick. Like I said, just like the podcast that I did with Urzuli Faida and Urzuli Danto, all of them have good qualities about, and they also have negative qualities about them as well. So the key is, when, as a man, when you're looking for your ideal woman that you want to settle down with, make sure that she has a little bit of both in her, because that's going to be the balance that you're going to need when you're talking about getting that right woman. So, all right, y'all, that's my podcast. Again, I apologize for the audio because I'm here at Jimmy Hula's and there's a lot of people here. So I hope that you will be able to hear me clearly on this. And if you have any questions or anything like that, just follow me on my Facebook page, comment, subscribe, and thank y'all so much for listening. And all right, man.